Why was Moses' body never found? How could such a pivotal leader who parted the Red Sea and guided the Israelites have his grave hidden? Why would God, who had always been transparent, choose to bury Moses in secret? Moses' death and mysterious burial have intrigued scholars and believers for centuries. From his beginnings in Egypt to leading the Israelites to freedom, Moses was central to God's plan. Yet his final moments were unlike any other. Let's uncover why Moses' body was never found and what this reveals about God's greater purpose. God called Moses to the mountain for one last purpose: to see the promised land but not enter it. At 120 years old, Moses was weary, yet he climbed Mount Nebo and looked out at the land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He had led the Israelites tirelessly to this moment, but why not let him enter? It was God's timing. Moses' mission was complete, and leadership was to pass to Joshua for the next chapter of the journey. Why was Moses allowed to see the promised land but not enter it? From Mount Nebo, Moses gazed at the land flowing with milk and honey, the home God promised to the Israelites. Yet though he could see it, he would never step foot there. God told Moses his time had come. He would die on the mountain and not cross into the land. Moses had been faithful, but it was time for him to rest, and Joshua would lead the people forward. Before we continue, tell me, are you enjoying the story, and would you like to discover more mysteries in the Bible? If the answer is yes, please subscribe to the channel to receive all the secrets of the Bible. Why did Moses die alone, and why is his grave unknown? After God spoke to Moses one last time, he died in Moab as God had said. Yet he was buried in the valley, but no one knows where his grave is. Deuteronomy 34, 5-6. God buried Moses himself, keeping the site secret. This may have been to prevent the Israelites from turning his grave into a place of worship. God wanted them to focus on him, not Moses. The hidden burial shows that even great leaders are not meant to be idolized. Could it be that Moses' hidden grave was also a foreshadowing of Jesus Christ? Both Moses and Jesus were chosen by God to lead people into freedom. Moses from slavery in Egypt, and Jesus from the slavery of sin. Both men performed miracles and led their people with unwavering faith. Yet just as Moses was not allowed to enter the promised land, Jesus too faced a path that would not lead to earthly glory. His body was laid in a tomb, and though his followers mourned, his resurrection would prove that the victory was never about the physical body. Just as God hid Moses' grave, so too was Jesus' tomb sealed, and the world waited in silence. The difference, of course, is that Jesus rose from the dead, triumphing over death and offering eternal life. Moses' death and burial remind us that God has the final say in life and death, and that his plans unfold in ways we may not fully understand, but always with a greater purpose. Why does God take such care in Moses' death and burial? The secret burial of Moses highlights God's sovereignty over both life and death. No matter how great a leader may be, no one can escape God's plan. Moses was an extraordinary man, but he was not above God's will. His death was a reminder that life and death belong to God alone. Even Moses, with all his power and influence, was subject to God's timing. In the same way, we all are subject to God's will. Our lives are not ours to control, and our deaths are not ours to determine. But just as Moses' death was part of a greater plan, so too is our life part of God's divine purpose. We may not always understand God's ways, but we can trust that he is in control. So, what do you think really happened to Moses' body? Share your theories in the comments below, and don't forget to check out our next video on biblical mysteries.